Before we dive into today's mailbag, if you can't watch live, that's okay. We'll get you covered on that front. My DMs are open at What's Going Downey. I'm tired of annoying Twitter nonsense there. So get your questions in via hashtag NFL or skip the line altogether via Super Chat. From Junior Estrada, Patriots should trade Kyle Dugger. I am very curious what ends up happening in the end with Dugger. Seems like he has very much fallen down the line with the Patriots, and he's working with the second team, and the practice squatters kind of have moved him down the list too. So the issue with Dugger is money. I think it's 13, 12, something like that, $1 million in cash that he's owed with a new team. So I don't know what the future holds for Dugger there. I think the Patriots would be open to trading him. I don't know if a new team wants to take him on. Would they eat the money by cutting him? I have doubts on that front. But I would not be surprised if Dugger ends up getting dealt. From CGW, Tom, I love the videos. Keep it up. Hendrickson to Dallas. The only way you're getting Hendrickson in Dallas for a team that won't pay Micah right now is if you're shipping out Micah as part of that. And the flip side is, why are you getting older and not as good overall? It doesn't really make a lot of sense for the Cowboys. Bengals, meanwhile, they don't trade picks. It is exceedingly rare for them to actually trade picks on that front. I don't think either side would have interest because of the downgrade for the Cowboys and I love Hendrickson. And whatever the extra cost would be to get Micah to Dallas, the Bengals would never want to pay. I think for the Cowboys, they're probably not even going to call about it, and the Bengals probably aren't going to call other teams about it either. So wouldn't get your hopes up on that front. From OH6 Gaming. Did you see this morning, Tom? Jerry Jones was on Good Morning Football, and they asked her about the Micah deal. She gave us the BS pie line they always use. I did see that, and boy, I hate it. I know exactly what you're referring to because the background here for you non-Cowboys fans is anytime contracts come up, Stephen Jones loves this. He talks about the pie and how there's only so much pie to go around with contracts as the same team drags their feet and don't get deals done on time and then cut into their own cap and cash space availability. That was extremely disheartening to me as a Cowboys fan and Cowboys Report host because that's just BS, as you said. From Bigly Bobby, who trades for Anthony Richardson now? Isn't this just the Pittsburgh Steelers' next starting QB next season? Isn't that the most likely outcome? That Pittsburgh goes, let's try the high upside guy and see what happens again. They buy low on Richardson after they win 10 games or whatever, and Aaron Rodgers retires, and then they move on after that. So I think Steelers make a ton of sense, just with the need and the fit and everything. Someone will give him a shot. He's a top 5 pick. He's got immense physical talent. Those guys always get chances, but I wouldn't have a lot of faith in that being the chance. But he might end up being a decent tank candidate for you. Best case, he's good. Worst case, you get a top 5 pick again. It's not the worst outcome. Who will end up trading for Anthony Richardson? This will be the pinned comment on today's show. Whether it's now, trade deadline, maybe more likely in the future, or they add him if the Colts end up cutting him, whatever. Who ends up trading for Anthony Richardson? Let me know in the comment section of today's show. From Ruthless Monk, the Chiefs have an acquisition on defensive end. They have a decent amount of cap space. You could explore probably a free agent veteran pickup, like Zadarius Smith is still unsigned. I've mentioned him for the Lions. I think that one ends up being a really fun fit. I'm curious what they think they're going to get out of Charles Omenihu, and I think Ashton Gelati is a third-round pick. Maybe he's not ready yet, but I think mercenary edge, they're obviously not going to get Hendrickson from the Bengals, for example, or Micah from the Cowboys. They don't have that does not work for where the Chiefs are at overall, but they can go sign a mercenary vet. DC times Viper, then I do want to get to Cornelius Pryor as a super chat too. Thoughts on the Bears this preseason? Caleb and the Ben Johnson combo seems to be working. I always put an asterisk on everything when it comes to the preseason. If it looks good, great. That's what you want it to do. I have seen good teams be bad in the preseason and bad teams be good in the preseason. I think it was that Browns team that didn't win a game, won every preseason game. Or maybe it was the Dolphins. It was one of those two. I see the Chiefs lose every preseason game. I think if you're a Bears fan and you want some optimism on Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, you've seen it. I think that duo should work. So that's kind of confirming the priors, and you should feel good about it in the end. Today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. Preseason football is underway, and college football is here. So don't miss any of the action this season on PrizePicks. PrizePicks is simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. Keep an eye out for their max discounts. For example, Dak Prescott. It's a half passing yard in week 1 of the pro football season. Put that in every single one of your PrizePicks slates. Here's one of the power plays I've cooked up. Dak Prescott, again, more than the half passing yard. If you're not putting that in there, you're just leaving opportunities on the table. Xavier Worthy, more than 3.5 yards on the ground. Ashton Genty, more than a half touchdown, so 1 touchdown on that front. Go download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. It's PrizePicks. Run your game. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Got a $6 super chat. Oh, shoot, what's that currency? I don't remember what that currency is. I'm not smart enough. From Sam Vanny. What are the Dolphins getting Matthew Judon? Will they move an edge? Are they planning to trade I think you mean trade for a corner? Not trade a corner because they don't have the bodies, I think is what we're going for there at corner, which I agree with. That's a terrifyingly bad cornerback room. The Jets got Garrett Wilson, Patriots have Diggs when he's fully healthy. Bills aren't loaded, but it's not a good cornerback room in Miami. Rolling out there with Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb and Matthew Judon and Chop Robinson seems like overkill. I'm curious, maybe Muhammad Kamara ends up getting moved. He was a 5th-round pick. There's probably some value out there. It is a late-round selection. You go sign Rasul Douglas. That makes a lot of sense to me. What's the status of Asante Samuel? If I were the Dolphins, I would be adding more cornerback help. We'll see what their plan ends up being, though. But Judon as a 4th edge is good. Maybe they're just leaning into pass rush is all we need, and we'll deal with the corners later. I don't know. We'll see. I'm very curious what other moves are coming there. DC times Viper. Will the Giants right the ship, or is this Brian Daboll's last stand? It's a good question. There's been a lot of good stuff to like from Jackson Dart in the preseason. This is the environment that he should do well in, but still he's doing well. You give him credit for that. A lot of this comes down to Russell Wilson. The schedule's kind of challenging for a team that was bad last year. I am a bit nervous on the Giants and Daboll's future. At this point, if you're the Giants, though, if you brought him back last year, you kind of need to have him with a second year of Jackson Dart. Unless he plays this year and is terrible, I kind of feel like it'd be organizational malpractice to not give him a chance to be the guy with Dart, now that they have their quarterback. That's what I think needs to end up happening there. Also from DC times Viper, what are the Colts thinking, making Jones the starter? Or is this an admission Richardson is awful and a bust? Probably that last one. Probably that they're out on Richardson, which is a failure of the organization too, because they drafted him. They failed to develop him. I kind of feel like they're trying to save their jobs a little bit here, which understandable. But talking to a Colts buddy of mine, if you were just going to make Daniel Jones your starter, why didn't you go all out for Sam Darnold? I don't think Darnold's that great, but it moves the needle far more than Daniel Jones does. From James Wright, let's go to that. I don't know why you went away from it. What is Micah Parsons' trade value? Look, I think it's similar to the Jalen Ramsey, Khalil Mack trade ideas of us 2-1s and change is kind of what you're going for there. I don't really know why they wouldn't get at least that unless they just totally botch everything on that front. So I think it's 2-1s and change. I don't think it happens right now, but if they don't get a deal done before the season, next off season, that's going to be number one NFL storyline. So at some point, in terms of not extending him, because I don't want to they traded him 5 years from now at the end of his deal. That's cheating. Will the Cowboys end up trading Micah Parsons? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Snapping the shot. Who will be the biggest target for Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze or Luther Burden? Of those two, I'm going with Rome Odunze. First-round pick. I think he's more talented than Luther Burden. I do like Burden a lot. Behind him coming out of Missouri. I think Odunze ends up being the long-term wide receiver 1 for that Bears team. Cornelius Pryor, will the Cleveland Browns really keep 4 quarterbacks on their 53-man roster? Part of me wonders if that's the Browns getting an assist from Schefter of, we're not going to cut anybody, so please trade for Kenny Pickett. Flacco's going to start. I don't think they'd cut Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders. They're young, they're cheap, they're cost-controlled. I don't think the Browns would move on from those guys. They've shown some good stuff in the preseason. That would make Pickett the 4th option. His deal's fully guaranteed. It's not crazy expensive, though. So I would wonder if they're trying to shop Pickett behind the scenes. If they don't trade him, though, yeah, maybe they do keep 4. Michelle, what will the Patriots need to trade to get Micah Parsons? You're talking 2 ones and change. I'm talking like the change being assets, not here's the guy we don't want. Do you want him? I'm going to throw some shade here. I saw a Steelers account throw out the idea of a headline of deal they can't refuse of a first, a future second, a future 3, and Alex Highsmith. Highsmith's a good player. That does not move the needle. That is not a deal you can't refuse when it's 1 first that'll be in the 20s, a late second, and a future 3rd. A future second, too. Come on. You have to actually make a really good offer. Otherwise, it's not going to be nearly enough. Now, we go live here every week on NFL Daily, answering your questions and more. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/@ChatSportsTV. Free NFL videos, plus college football, NBA, and more right here on the channel. From Sean Carson, is Kyle Duggar, another one, done in New England? Again, I wouldn't be surprised. Seems like he's really fallen down the depth chart for a guy that was pretty highly touted and pretty damn good previously. The contract's kind of an issue. I talked to our Patriots guy. He just says that Duggar's been bad. Playing into the 4th quarter of a game and ending in the game on the field is not a good sign for you. It's kind of a showcase game to an extent. Made a pick, almost fumbled it. So if the money can get sorted out, I would not be surprised if they could find a trade partner. So name a player who you think ends up getting traded. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Name a player who you think ends up getting dealt, we'll say before roster cut down time. From Chua, why are there too many injuries in the NFL? This is a physical sport. That's the number one thing to not forget. It is a physical, violent game that leads to injuries. I think that in the big picture, it's probably benefited the players of being able to stay healthy into the season itself and not breaking down, and not their bodies breaking down so much at the end. But I would also say that these kind of awkward breaks and the limited physicality early on in camp and minimal stuff in minicamp and OTAs probably leads to more early injuries in training camp and in the preseason. So in the end, look, it is a physical game, and that leads to issues, but that's where we're at. From Junior Estrada, Patriots to trade Kendrick Bourne. It's a great name to shop. I think if you're New England, you have Diggs and Hollins and Douglas and Kyle Williams, and you kind of want to make room for Efton Chisholm. I think I pronounced that name correctly. We'll see what Jalen Polk's future looks like. But if you can trade Bourne or cut him if that's a possibility too, I think that makes a lot of sense for New England.